So it looks like we're here in Galashiels, and it's the second of the All Under One Banner marches for 2019. And come and talk to me. Come and talk to me. Anyway, so it's actually a fantastic turnout, and if you think of the small wee town that Galashiels is, it is a fantastic turnout. Yeah, Richard Drysdale. Are we allowed to advertise Richard Drysdale? Because these books, I know I've read this one.
Right.
And I've got this one, but I haven't got around to reading it yet.
Right.
So these are books, Richard Drysdale, State of Crisis is the newer one, and State of Emergency is the previous one. And that's been around for quite some time. That was out by
November 2016.
Better say that again because I have the microphone in my mouth rather than yours.
The first one came out in November 2016. The second one came out a year ago. And the third one, State of Occupation, is just out at the moment, and it'll be on Amazon and Kindle in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, so there's a new one?
Yes, it's a trilogy, and that's my lot.
Oh, and you're the man?
I'm the man.
Oh, it's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, well, I thought
so this is the author, Richard Drysdale, and I have read this book, and it's very, very good, and I've bought this one, and I'm sure it's going to be great, and the next one's, give it another plug, the next one.
2 weeks' time, Kindle and Amazon, and a State of Occupation, and it's the end of the trilogy.
Right, so do you want to give people a little bit of a synopsis?
Well, the 3 books are connected, and they are political thrillers. They're set in the future, but they use the benefit of hindsight and history to illustrate a particular point and a particular argument, but I don't really want to say too much about the plots because it'd give it away.
Don't want to spoil it, is that what they say?
Yes, yes. To encourage you to... This is the sizzle. You're smelling the sizzle, as it were.
Sell the sizzle. That's the sizzle.
Yeah, yeah.
Now tell me a little bit about yourself, Richard.
Okay, I was a history teacher for many years, retired, home in Scotland is St Andrews. I've lived in York in England for many, many years, but have a very, very strong connection with Scotland. I am Scottish, my wife is Scottish, and felt that in 2014 I wanted to get involved in the referendum campaign, which I did, and been involved in several campaigns since for the Scottish Parliament and Westminster, and meeting everyone has really galvanised me. It's been tremendous going around the country, speaking to people, doing book launches, book presentations, and I think one of the highlights of all this has actually been meeting people and talking to people. So.
And have you written other books besides this trilogy?
No, no.
It's been quite a bit to write this, though, hasn't it?
Well, it has. 3 books in 4 years is quite hard work. Oh, yeah. And but I've enjoyed it. It's been a tremendous occasion, and I'm glad I've done it.
Good.
I'm going to take a rest from writing now.
Yeah.
And the plot of the first one, I'll say something very briefly about the first one. What happens in the second one is quite different from what you expect at the end of the first one.
All right.
Say no more than that.
A teaser.
A teaser indeed, yes.
Well, that's great. Well, I do hope you sell many, many copies.
Thank you very much.
And
the first one has sold 1,400 now.
Oh, very good.
And the second one is on about 465. And the third one, which I'm selling privately at the moment, has got about 60 pre-orders. So that's working well, and yeah, I'm very pleased.
Well, we'll make sure it goes on our various different internet thingies. Right. What do they call them? Social medias.
Yes. Okay. I'll keep a lookout for it.
And look out for us.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll keep this. Thank you very much, Richard. It's lovely to meet you. So there we are, Richard Drysdale, and the state of emergency and the state of crisis in his new book is just out. So Ruth, tell us all about you.
Oh, you don't want to know about me. You want to know about the border.
All right, let's learn about the border.
Borders are opportunities. Borders are places for enterprise. Borders are things to be celebrated, none of which happens just now, but which could happen in an independent Scotland.
And so which group are you involved in? I bet it's Yes the Borders?
No, actually I'm Yes Annandale.
All right, Yes Annandale.
But we have volunteers that go all the way from Dumfries, across through Annandale, Eskdale, right the way across the borders, all the way over to Berwickshire. So it's the people that are closest to the border, so most affected by it. And our volunteers have been together about 6 months or so, trying to gather up all the thoughts that people have about the border and all the misinformation and the myths that we've had about the border, and find the other, well, I suppose the truth about the border instead.
All right, so last weekend I had the privilege of talking to an English lady who lives just south of our border, and she said to me, oh, it's all right for you Scots, you've got all that good stuff up there, you've got free medicines, you've got free education for the universities, and you've got this and you've got that, and all because we give you the Barnett formula. And I did give her a response, but what would your response have been to that, because she's the other side of the border?
On the one hand, it's very difficult to argue with anybody who's got that opinion. But on the other, once you start looking at the information about how the Barnett formula actually works in the first place, about the fact that all the shops and businesses in Scotland, if you are not registered in Scotland, then all your taxes are registered as being taxes that are created in England, or presumably London, wherever they're registered. We've got so much money that is generated in Scotland, but which isn't registered to Scotland. So her figures in the first place are wrong because they're based on inaccurate information. Then in terms of free prescriptions, free dental treatment, all that kind of thing is the choice of our government. And if she doesn't like what her government is doing, she either gets another government in, or she goes somewhere where she likes it and contributes to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Philippa Whitford about this same lady the other day, and I said to her, isn't it about 200 billion that goes south and 37 odd billion that comes back? Is that right, or you don't know?
I don't know anything about the figures. We're focused more on the practical day-to-day things. So things like where we were told in the past, and they start saying this again, there will be a physical border. We're told we're not going to be able to cross the border without showing your passport. There's going to be a barricade across the border on Independence Day, all of which is absolute nonsense. If you look at things like barricade across the border, when the weather is bad, it takes all of about half an hour for the motorway to completely back up. So you can really see the people in the northwest of England wanting to have that barricade built so that everybody's got to go into one little narrow toll bridge effectively to come through. It's going to be completely gridlocked right the way back down to Manchester, down to Birmingham. What, 2 hours or something? The amount of time it took to turn the Cumberland Gap from 2 lanes into 3, I think it was about 7 years from start to finish. And the congestion was really bad. I cannot see, first of all, the government turning their heads away from the south of England and spending lots of money on the border at Carlisle and, of course, right the way across, or indeed being bothered enough to actually want to do anything about it. It would cost so much, it would be really disruptive. Around about 25,000 vehicles cross the M74, M6 every day, and I think it's about 6,000 every day on the A1. That's a huge amount of traffic. And to try and stop all that and put it through some kind of checkpoint, it's just insane.
This is Colin Fox of the
Scottish Socialist Party, yeah. National spokesperson of the Scottish Socialist Party. Delighted to be here.
Thank you. And I'm very delighted to talk to you. I've heard you speak on a number of occasions, and you're a very fiery speaker, always very entertaining.
Well, it's fiery when necessary and calm and reflective when necessary too.
So what's your take now on our current situation? Let's start with south of the border and the Tory leadership and all, and the fallout from the EU elections. That'll keep you going for a couple of hours, surely.
I don't know who to vote for. Is there a socialist standing? I mean, it's a joke, isn't it? The Tories are in a mess. The politics of Britain is a mess. I don't believe it'll last long though. This is a period of time, it's an interregnum, dare I use that Latin word, right? And the politics of Britain just now is dominated by Brexit. And if, like me, as a socialist, I don't give a monkey's whether Scotland is inside the EU or not, it rather makes politics a bit boring, doesn't it?
Yeah, but then what's the alternative to Europe?
To Europe? Well, I'm in favour of a genuine internationalist outcome. People talk about the EU representing Europe. Of course it doesn't. The EU is an institution. There are many countries in Europe that are not even in it. Britain wasn't in it until the 1970s. So I have great criticisms of the EU, but at the same time I'm a European. I'm proud to be a European. I think, you know, I have a great deal in common with people all across Europe, working people who sell their labour every day. So I think a return to those class values are more important than anything else. So we focus on £10 an hour living wage, the fact there's a chronic shortage of houses in Scotland. We worry about the elderly care for our mums and dads. We worry about the future for our children. That's Brexit.
Do you think we've got enough resources to cover all that without the trading?
Yeah, well, you mean Scotland?
Yeah, because you've got Liam Fox has been around the world trying to get the trade deals rolled over from the European Union. He's managed to do 10. But with the Faroe Islands and the Palestinian Authority and the Israelis, doesn't sound to be too substantial to my mind.
Well, he's probably lucky, isn't he, on performance-related pay, or he wouldn't be getting any. But, you know, those trading arrangements will be sorted out in due course. I think the question that's important above all is trade for whose benefit. With trade, you know, Apple trades every day, but not for the benefit of humankind, not for the benefit of the workers in China, or the people who work in their shops here in Scotland. So the whole basis, the morality of what that trade is for and for whose benefit, they're the fundamental questions that need to be addressed.
And what about the other systems that are currently organised by the European Union, like the cultural events and the fact that they try to keep us safe from war?
Yeah, I don't buy that. You know, I just don't buy it. The idea that Europe is responsible for no wars in Europe since the Second World War, the European Union, that's nonsense. And so is the idea that the European Union is somehow responsible for all the reforms that working people in Scotland, Britain or the rest of Europe won. That's just not true. Those were won by working people standing up for themselves, whether they were French or German or Scottish or whatever, you know. So the European Union's not the font of all wisdom, the font of all progress. It's not an organisation that helps working people. It's a trading organisation to help the big corporations, and it's in the grip of multinational corporations that we need to confront, challenge and reform for the betterment of mankind.
So would you vote for or agree to or support the idea of a customs union and such?
Well, again, it's a customs union on what terms, for whose benefit? You know, trading, that's a good thing. Trading between nations, it brings, as you said, cultural benefits. You trade with China, you trade with Argentina, you get to know those people. The benefits, they buy Scotch whisky, we buy free bentos if it was Argentina. That's a good thing, that's part of it.
You do need to have a trade deal in order to do that free bentos deal. And we shouldn't maybe advertise them so much. There are other bentoses available, but you know, when you can't just go out into the world and let's move it on then. World Trade Organization. You think that's going to be a good idea?
No, the World Trade Organization is corrupt. Its rules are set for the benefit of Shell, IBM, Apple, the big corporations. This is the World Trade Organization rules tell African farmers that they have to import American wheat. I mean, God almighty, these are countries of the world that are impoverished and they're told they can't grow wheat to feed themselves. Those rules are bent, dare I use that phrase.
So what do you, now we've touched America, which was going to come, I was going to bring that up. You know, what about trading with America if we have looking for an alternative to the European Union? How do you think about trading with Mr. Trump? What do you think about all his regime?
Of course, Scotland has traded with America for 150 years. I'm old enough to remember. I look slightly older than you, but we used to be referred to, remember, Scotland as the 51st state. Everything where I grew up in Lanarkshire was owned by America. Honeywell's, Caterpillar, General Motors at Newhouse.
Now it's WhatsApp and Facebook and...
Now it's mostly Chinese companies, isn't it? You know, and Amazon and these big corporations. So Amazon's American, Google's American.
So what would you see, give me a little picture of how you would like to see an independent Scotland.
An independent socialist Scotland trades with other nations on the basis of a fair playing field, a level playing field. We don't exploit Africa, Southeast Asia for mineral resources and pay them buttons. That's a colonial past. That's an imperial attitude, you know, rape and pillage countries abroad for the benefit of Britain at home. That's what was wrong with the empire, the American empire, British empire, French, whatever. Trading on the basis of equality, respect for people in Bangladesh, instead of paying them £1 a week in order to make your t-shirts or your underwear. That's exploitative. So trade on the basis of exploitation, no socialist can countenance that. All the riches come to Britain and Bangladesh continues to be impoverished. Need to level the world's playing field. That's what socialists do, stand for.
I think that's a good place to because it tells your story.
Almost as good a place as Galashiels.
Thank you very much, Colin.
Always a pleasure.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
And who are you, sir?
George Brown from Lanark, Curluke branch. I've come down here on my own with my little Volkswagen van, so I'm hoping to enjoy the ambience of the place. It's a beautiful area, Galashiels, and I'm amazed at the number of people have turned out. As I was coming to here, the number of English people I met who got full SNP or Yes badges, it's fantastic to see that it's for everybody, all under one banner.
Have you been to Galashiels before?
A long time ago, yeah, with the kids. I think we were camping.
How many children you got?
Well, they're all grown up now. It's three girls, but when they were wee, as you know, you can only afford to go camping, so I was camping somewhere around about here. I can't remember exactly where, but beautiful area. So I intend later on maybe to go to the pub and enjoy the ambience of this place.
Have you been on an all under one banner march before?
Oh yeah, lots of times, and the BBC protests, which was really good. The first one I went to, there was about maybe 150 people, and someone thrust a banner in my hand. Unfortunately, when the rain came on, I couldn't hand the banner back. The water ran down my arm, down my trousers, and into my shoes. By the time we got to, I think it was St Enoch Square, I think that day there was a number of speakers, including Tommy Sheridan. But that brightened up the afternoon, the enthusiasm of everyone there. Also, the BBC protests, they seem to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they kind of faded out. I would have liked to have seen more people from the political parties, the Greens, the SNP, the SSP. They seemed to think it wasn't valuable to protest outside the BBC, but it was very important because at one point people inside the BBC were actually waving to us before they were warned by their line manager, you wave to that lot out there and you're out of a job. So as I say, I think maybe that some of that will start up again because the BBC is back to its old tricks with broadcasting misinformation, giving us half a story, telling mistruths and totally ignoring things that are of vital importance to Scotland.
Of course, the SNP have been calling them out just this last week or two, haven't they? Keith Brown's been having a good go about the question time thing.
I agree. I think the SNP are now moving on to the front foot from the back foot. I think they realise that time is running out as regards going for another independence referendum, and whether they go for an Article 30 or not, even if an Article 30 is refused, there is no specific legal foundation to reject the call for independence. I was listening to radio this morning, the small part of the radio that we got in Radio Scotland said that it was down to politics. It's not down to any legalistic boundaries that Scotland has held and tied to the Union. It's a purely political decision. And if enough people in Scotland want independence, no government, whatever complexion they are in Westminster, have the ability to refuse us. They will try, but I think the people in Scotland, especially the ones that are very active, this lot and you, will call their bluff.
Yeah, and of course Nicola Sturgeon says, well, the will of the people will out, really, isn't that what she says?
Yeah, I think Nicola is becoming far more, not aggressive, but far more assertive in her outlook towards independence. She knows she's tried numerous times to negotiate some kind of deal for Scotland, and at every turn she has been knocked back or even been ridiculed by members of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, well, they always do that. Let's just pop back and just do two little bits about the BBC again, because I thought it was an interesting part of the conversation. All the conversation's been interesting, but the BBC, the way they balance things, I think they put a stopwatch on it, don't they? And so he's had his 5 minutes, you get your 5 minutes, and that doesn't really balance the books, does it?
No, I mean, there seem to be giving it big licks to the debate for the new leader of the Liberal Party, which they did well in Scotland, but not as well as the Brexit Party. I think they came, is it third or fourth? So although there's been a resurgence in the Lib Dems, they're not a powerful force, but the BBC gave them big licks this morning.
Have you noticed also how sometimes you can be listening, say, First Minister's questions, and Nicola Sturgeon will say one thing, but then they'll put Jackson Carlo or Ruth Davidson on immediately after on the news?
Exactly. The news is what they call filtered and managed. The word managed is a polite way of saying, just leave out anything that's of opposition to the British state or to the political parties of the day. I'm still amazed at how much mileage they give the Labour Party in Scotland, even though they've been almost wiped out. I think if there is another election called, you will see the people coming up from the woodworks supporting Labour, even although to a lot of Labour members in Scotland, whether they've joined the Yes movement or not, they feel that Labour is now a lost cause in Scotland. The soul of Keir Hardie and other bonny fighters in Scotland is long gone. It's a memory.
Well, that's a lovely place to finish that on, because Keir Hardie was a champion of Scotland. Thank you very much for talking. What's your name?
Erica.
Oh, that's lovely, Erica. I think we met earlier on today, didn't we?
Possibly, I don't remember.
Anyway, I remember these lovely earrings. That was the thing.
There'll be another lady with the earrings, I expect.
So, is this the first march you've been on?
No, I've been on several, yeah.
And what do you think about this one? Let's compare them. Let's have a contrast and a comparison.
Well, I think, aside from the numbers being fewer today than the bigger marches, the atmosphere is just the same.
And of course, if you were in Glasgow, you've got millions of folk.
Yeah.
Here's a wee tiny town in the borders, so one wouldn't expect quite the turnout.
No, I think the turnout's been fantastic. It really
kind of a percentage-wise, I think it's pretty good.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And everybody's happy. Everybody's got a cause.
Did you see anybody who was of the opposing team?
Oh, yes, we did.
How many of those were there?
I'm not sure, maybe about 20, perhaps. Yeah.
Same group of people?
Same group of people, yeah.
So they're not kind of growing in number?
I wouldn't have thought so, no. We're just clapping and waving at them, telling them they're welcome to stay in Scotland when we become independent.
And what's your vision for an independent Scotland?
A fairer Scotland for everybody, not just people with a lot of money, but people, the poorer people, to get a fair share.
And what did you think about the SNP getting the biggest share of the votes out of all the other political parties in the European Union?
Wonderful. It was great seeing Scotland purely yellow apart from Orkney and Shetland. Brilliant. Yeah, well earned.
Thank you very much for talking to us. You're very kind. Okay, bye. Bye-bye. Now look, this is really cool. Put your head next to mine, come on. This is the way you need it. This is pure masculinity. What do you think?
Of course, definitely.
Now this is Sean Mellon, and he's the guy who's of the All Under One banner. And are you in charge today?
No, it was actually Graham Jones. He was the named organiser for the day, but there's nobody really in charge. We don't have a boss, we just work as a team.
But someone does take the lead.
Yep, with the council meetings and police and stuff like that. We get a different organiser for every march.
And how was it organising it with Galashiels?
Absolutely fine. The only council we seem to get any problems off is Glasgow City Council, but every other council it's not really an issue. They don't put many barriers in our way.
And are you pleased with the turnout?
Yes, very. Not the easiest place to get to, but 5,000 over the moon. Brilliant.
Good. And the next march?
Oban.
How many are we expecting up there?
20,000.
It's quite difficult to get up there, isn't it?
We'll get there. We've got buses running, the full shebang.
And can people sign up to get on one of your buses?
Yes, they can. Contact the page, and we've got one of our members, Fiona Cameron. She actually deals with the buses. It's a fraction of what you would normally pay if you were getting a bus or a train. So it's well.
And an absolutely lovely journey up to Oban too.
Yes, but I'll be driving up that one. Driving up, I'm doing the same day.
And what's the next march that you're in charge of?
That'll be Ayr on the 6th of July.
And what other marches have we got to come through the season?
Aberdeen, Campbelltown, Perth and Edinburgh.
And Edinburgh with the finish of the season?
Yep, that'll be the big one.
And there was about 100,000 or so there last year?
Yep, just over 100,000. We're hoping to double that this year. So one of the objects of doing all these kind of smaller ones around about the country, get people interested, and then hopefully everybody that attends these turns up at the big one at the end of the year.
And do you think that the Scottish Government are getting the idea that all your marches are showing that we want an independent Scotland here?
Now, yes, now they are. I think we kind of ignored us a wee bit to start with, but we're too big now. We're getting massive, we're getting bigger all the time.
Because Keith Brown was here at the Glasgow march,
Yeah.
wasn't he? And you had the European prospective MEPs on the stage. Are there a few representatives here today?
For this one, no, there's no for any political parties here today. No, it's just grassroots today, just normal people.
And they're not normal, they're just wonderful, aren't they?
Aye, totally amazing, beautiful people, every day.
As are you. Lovely to talk to you, Sean, as it always is. So see you again soon. Thanks, bye. And you got an England shirt on there.
Yes.
What's that all about?
I'm English.
An Englishman for Scots.
Well, I've lived in Scotland for 34 years. Yeah, I was from the Wirral, but despite the fact that I'm English, I absolutely agree that the country that I live in now should have its own independence. Absolutely.
That's nice to know. And so tell me a bit about yourself. What do you do?
I'm self-employed. I work from home. My wife is Scottish. She's from Glasgow. My son, therefore, is English Scots. And luckily, we found a group that we can go all under one banner. Our banner is English Scots for yes. So as a result, when we do our when we're involved in the marches, we get a lot of appreciation from the Scots who appreciate that, you know, that it's really to demonstrate that this whole movement isn't racist at all. It isn't in any way against English people. It's just against what happens in Westminster and having self-rule in this country. It doesn't matter where you're from. It's where you're at that counts.
And of course, the independence of Scotland isn't about a lot of things that people think about it. It's just we would like to have control over our immigration.
Yes.
We'd like to have full control over the finances.
Yes.
and those kind of things, so we can decide what the people of Scotland would like to get along with.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day is we need to get more fiscal powers. We must have the powers to decide what we do with the money that's generated in this country. And a lot of people think that this country can't make it on its own. And when you look at other countries in the world who don't generate the income that we do in this country can make it on its own. We just have to have more people confident that we can do this.
And how many members do you think you've got in your what do you say it was English?
English Scots, yeah.
English. How many members do you think you got?
Well, it's spread into different areas of Scotland. We're from the Dumfries and Gallow area, and there's about 300 of us there. But you know, we're trying to get more people who feel maybe disenfranchised because they are English to join our banner. So then we'll be at the next. We'll be at all the forthcoming matches. It's just look for the Cross of St. George, right? And then just meet us there, join our banner, and if you're English, you'll finally have a banner that you can feel, right, this is where I should be supporting this movement.
And you've got presence on the social media and everything, Facebook and all that?
Yes, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. We've grown Facebook groups. So if anybody wants to just look on Facebook, English for Scots, you'll find us there. Become members, especially if you're English. Join us, and then we can organise a greater impact and get more people who are English in Scotland, who are English but they live in Scotland, who want independence, to join us.
It's very kind of you to spend the time talking to me. Thank you very much indeed.
Right. Okay.
Have a great day. Bring the banner. Look, we need to show everybody this wonderful flag. Can you see this? I don't know. It's got Desperate Dan on there.
Willie.
And Willie, because
Pull it up, she says. Over a bit.
I don't know if you can see all of that. Anyway, look, Annie, stand there and talk to me a wee bitty.
Right. How many customers did I send to you?
None yet.
Ken.
Just stand that way a wee bit. That's great. Not too far. Come back there. We want to see this lovely banner and your beautiful face in between. So, yeah, I think we can probably do that. Now, Annie's a big supporter of Scottish independence. She's a big supporter of Wings Over Scotland. She's a big supporter of Broadcast Scotland. And the SNP, and she's got all these wonderful badges on her head, on her hat. She's been collecting those from all around the place. And there we are. What's this one? That's independence. From Hebrides, Harris and Stornoway.
National.
And how long have you been supporting Scottish independence?
No,
you go that way. You were fine where you were. Oh, did she?
Right. How long have I been? Practically all my life, yes. All my life, independence, right? But the actual, real grassroots thing, 6 years. I've been pounding the streets for 6 years. SNP, Foot Soldier, Yes Group, everything. So I'm looking forward to a wee rest.
So when do you think it's going to be?
Definitely next year. Definitely. Or we might get a wee surprise and get nearer, right? Okay.
But then, of course, you're going to have to pad the streets again to build a new Scotland with us.
Oh, that's no bother, right? And I've got plenty of pals. I'll just tell them to come and help. Because Dundee, right, is the yes capital of Scotland, right? Okay? And that's who I'm from. And I pound the streets all the time, getting the vote out, okay? The European Union, Dundee had the most percentage as well, so I'm really proud. And we've got 2 MPs, SNP, 2 MSPs, SNP, and the council's all SNP, yeah! So, you have to do the work to get out, right? So, we're prepared to work both ways. I've got 2 hats. This is my yes hat. This is my Foot Soldier hat. And then when I take that off and I put my SNP hat on and I put my SNP bag and vest, that's me, right? So I do both. So
have you got any little stories from when you've been chapping the doors and pushing the leaflets through the doors? Anything funny happened along the road?
Okay, all the time. Last week I had a guy sitting in his garden, a working class man, retired, but he was working, and he was a Brexiteer, right? So I says to him, why are you a Brexiteer? Oh, we've got to get out of this, right? And I basically says to him, after I explained to him why we shouldn't be there, but anyway, cut long story short, he's outside sunbathing. I'm pounding the streets, right, when the sun's shining down. So I says to him, yeah, notice the difference? You're sitting in your front garden, right? And I'm out pounding the streets. So we'll get our independence and we'll get that. So I was quite happy. Oh yeah, I've got loads and loads of stories. But
well, that was a fine story. And maybe I should let you get back to the party over there.
Oh yes. Well, thank you. And
thank you very much for talking to us, Annie.
I'm disappointed that nobody's came over because I kept telling them to come over. But then
yeah. Find some more folk for us, that'd be great. See you later. Absolutely great. Super. You look very fine in your bonnets there. So tell me, how's it going today?
Great, aye, great. Good turnout again. Just shows you what independence means to Scotland, eh?
I was talking to one of your helpers, a gentleman, a French gentleman.
Oh man, aye.
Yeah, and he told me you've been touring around and about the place.
We've been mostly around with Scotland and that, but it's coming on. Band's growing all the time. New people seeing it and coming and getting involved now. As before, they probably wouldn't step forward, but now they see it's got the basics. They're coming in and starting to grow. So
I mean, you're certainly a bit more professional than the first time round, because every time I see you, you get better.
Better, aye. Well, the first time was in Stornoway. We actually met you at Stornoway, didn't we? Aye, and then we done Glasgow on the 4th. That was just amazing. I've never cried my eyes out so much in my life. The emotions were high. It was just.
Apart from when you had to buy a round.
So what do you think it's going to be like on the night that Scotland declares independence? You're going to be there, I hope.
We'll be there in spirit, definitely. Aye, but that'll be.
There might be one or two spirits inside us as well, but no.
I think I detected a tear in the eye there.
Oh, I did. Aye.
He'll be greeting again. Don't worry. He'll be greeting his eyes out. Don't worry.
What about getting a Scottish passport?
I have both for a Scottish passport and stay in Europe and travel around Europe with a Scottish passport and walk back to the English line. That'd be fine.
I mean, you could be ambassadors around Europe. You give up your daytime job and just do the band around the world.
We actually on the media, we've actually got a drummers chat within the band, and we actually spoke about this the other week there, saying when we get independence, what we're going to do. So I've started planning for a world tour for the band. So
why not?
We better start saving now.
We better start saving. Like.
Well, you could go to America first. They're bound to take you up, and you get a lot of money there, and you can take you around the rest of it.
Tartan Day in America would be a good start, wouldn't it?
Yeah, surely didn't Billy Connolly do the front of that this year?
He did, aye. He did do it, aye. But I think my dream for me when we get independence is to walk down the Royal Mile. Is free, to be free Scotland, to be no more Westminster, no more told what to do and how much money we receive. That'd be my dream. Now you're going to make us cry again.
Just get independence and I can die a happy man then.
Give us a little roll. Go on. Absolutely tremendous. Okay. Lovely to talk on.
Just one more thing. The people asked for a pipe band to lead these marches, and if everybody, the next time you see us when we're playing, if everybody could just dig in their pocket for £1, there was estimated 5,000 here today. If we got £1 off every person, that'd be £5 to keep this band, because it does. When we do this, we've had crowdfunders and it's been great up to now, but we still have week-to-week running costs of the band to get us, and that would be great.
So you got all these costumes and everything, didn't you? Because the first time I saw you didn't have those, did you?
No, that was in Edinburgh last year. We didn't have that. We've sort of begged, stole and borrowed drums and pipes off people, but now we're up and running now. So just £1. If next time you see us, dig in, give us £1. Okay. Lovely.
Tip top. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. Good luck.
Freedom.
Here, put all your, well, keep your club right. Now, are you in the Yes Bikers?
I am indeed. Yes, I am. Aye, I've always, I love bikes. I want independence. Why not combine both it and just have fun at the same time? And well, we saw it today. I think there was nearly 200 bikes. It's just a pity they wouldn't let us join on the end of the march. But
so did you have to go to a separate place then?
We pulled up just as where the parade was coming down the hill, and the plan was, I think, was to let us come join on the back and follow them round once, and then as they came back up into the park, then the bikes were going to do a tour of the borders. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it because I've got other commitments. So, but it was, it was great fun, and it was great to hear the noise of all the bikes coming down that hill. And I know I've got a lot of friends that were marching today who've messaged me, and I've spoke to them, and they've said that, you know what, it was great, fantastic. And again, we were all here for one thing, and the sooner it gets pushed through, the better for me.
I mean, the political situation has been quite strange, hasn't it, with the whole of the UK? What do you think about the mess in the southern parts?
Well, it just highlights what Westminster's about. they went to the polls and they got what they wanted, and they've not been able to push it through. They just, one hand doesn't know what the other's doing down there, and I firmly believe that if Scotland was in charge of its own destiny, we would thrive and prosper. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that.
I wonder if the folks south of our border would actually manage to sort themselves out if they didn't have us with them. I mean, do you think it might make it easier for them, maybe?
I think it'll get worse for them. I think when you know what Scotland supplies to the whole of the UK and to the world, if you take that away from supplying that down south, what are they going to do? Their industry down there is dead. It's dead. You know, I've got a lot of friends. In fact, I'm just back from holiday with some of those friends, and even they've only been to Scotland once in their life. And when they came up here, they wanted to move up here, because when I explained to them what we get as a nation, and what they have to pay for, and what they don't get, they were like, they actually looked at buying a house up here. And I've got a lot of friends that they want to have a vote on Scottish independence, and they feel it's wrong that just because they're in England or Wales that they can't have that vote. The whole country votes on everything else, or the whole countries I should say, so why can't all the countries vote on something like this?
Well, it's surely going to be coming. Thank you for all your efforts with the Indie Bikers. Lovely to talk to you, and I hope we meet again another day.
Yes, hopefully, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Come on.
A bevy of beautiful maidens, is that right?
Hi there.
Come on then, who are we all? Tell us.
I'm Catherine.
Amy.
Avril. Anne.
Now, I've met these young ladies a bit before, and they seem to have seen me on Broadcasting Scotland. They're real, well, these guys, they actually watch our programmes.
Yes! and subscribe.
And they subscribe, so if you want to join these lovely people, that's what you should do. Now, Amy, what do you think about it all so far?
Good.
And do you want to show everybody your unicorn on your vest? You show your shirt. Amy showed me her shirt a little bit before because she's got matching earrings and a lovely unicorn, because of course the unicorn is the Scottish thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember? You ever heard that song about the unicorn?
No.
Don't you forget my unicorn. It was about the animals on Noah's Ark, and they couldn't find the unicorn. I think the Bachelors used to sing it. I was on Summer Season with them once, years ago. Anyway, you have to ask these ladies about. No, I don't know. You have to ask Linda about the Bachelors, because she'll know. Anyway, so tell me what you think about the march.
Fabulous. Great day with the Indie family.
We love coming down to the borders.
It's been a great day. Thank you, Gala.
And have you been to Galashiels before?
Oh, many times, many times.
And where you come down from?
Edinburgh, we got the train down. We're just outside Edinburgh, so it was great to get the train down and back, yeah.
I'm from Bonnyrigg, and I took the train down with my sisters.
So thank you for wearing these lovely earrings. I think I might even have my ears pierced and have a pair myself. Yeah, we talked about Amy's unicorn ones before. Thank you very much for coming over and speaking to us, and thanks for supporting Broadcasting Scotland. It's let's have that. All right, okay. You got a good picture of that? Okay, and Independence Now. Lovely to talk to you all. Have a great day for the rest of it. Super. Now.
Well, you're just non-stop. You're non-stop.
Absolutely.
Are you okay? You need a seat.
Well, do you know, my little leg is ache a bit. But it's great fun, you know, because I don't know what's going to happen. And anything we do with Broadcasting Scotland, that's the story, and it keeps my brain alive and awake. And we had a good conversation at the SNP party conference. So you have to update me a little bit, and because there are some people who won't have seen that. And I dare say there's one or two people who've never seen you before, but that would be a surprise because you've got a great haircut.
Well, that's
but we've
it,
already
I
done
know,
that joke
I know.
with Sean. So
Well,
go
no,
on,
John,
tell everybody about you.
It was surprising how few baldies there were at Westminster. It made it easy. So I was the MP for Galashiels, so Berkshire, Roxburgh, Selkirk from 2015 to 2017. But the reason I became the MP was because I got so involved in the Yes movement, set up Yes Galashiels, set up about half the Yes groups in the borders, was a trainer for Yes, was the lead volunteer for Yes Scotland, which is why I'm so excited about today. It's brilliant.
And can you believe so many folk turned out?
Oh, it was amazing because you just don't know, do you? You hope you'll get a big number, but you're a little bit nervous because you go, well, how many people are going to come to Gala and how many people were turned out locally? And I just thought it was brilliant.
Did you see that funny little story in the National today about some people going to wear body cameras to check out the numbers?
I mean, I don't know, is that supposed to scare us or something like that? I don't know, it's so childish, isn't it? I mean, I actually don't care what the total number is. What I saw today was a brilliant turnout. Lots of people having a great time, passionate about independence. I saw people in the town who maybe even didn't know it was on going, wow, what is this? And they'll talk about this. So it was brilliant. Wear a body camera if you want. Wear a head camera. Wear whatever you want, right? It doesn't matter, right? I thought today was brilliant. I loved it.
And there's another little thing that was interesting because several people have mentioned it to me. And that is the fact that along the line of the march, there were quite a few people displaying flags and symbols outside their windows.
Yeah, I know. There's a few people hanging out of windows as well. I was getting a little bit nervous at times. But no, Galashiels, if I think back to 2014, we did pretty well in places like Galashiels. I think we are a rural area, so there's less built-up areas where traditionally, the factors come into play that gets a strong yes vote. Gala, slightly different there. Gala and Hawick in particular, there's a good level of yes support, a good level of SNP support as well. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that. It's how we harness that and take the message out into the wider area. So
I was wondering if they were getting a little bit bolder and if they weren't, we talked about the other guys being afraid, but I was wondering if the people who support yes are a little bit bolder, a bit more confident.
I think there's maybe a bit of that because Brexit has shifted some of the real antis, right? And my best mate has moved from being anti-independence to being very pro-independence. When are we having a vote, Callum? So I think more people have seen, number one, a small difference, as we talked about at conference, a small difference in attitude can lead to a very different place. And then secondly, how Scotland's really treated. So it doesn't matter that we voted 62% Remain. It doesn't matter that we have our own parliament, our own First Minister. We are tied up, shoved in the boot. You had your chance in 2014. So I've got people that are campaigning in the streets of the borders are saying, Callum, I've seen the way we're treated now. I didn't really appreciate it. It's appalling. And it's how that then translates into, do they then support independence, or they're certainly more amenable to it? And I think this is our challenge. A second vote's coming. And we all need to think about the way we articulate our message. I think for too long, we kind of internalise, we talk to ourselves about keeping the fires going, right? Keeping the fires going and not letting that flame die out. But now we're entering a different mode. It is about engaging and discussing. So everyone, whether we're an activist or someone that supports independence or an elected official, stop playing to the gallery. Stop putting stuff up that we know will annoy other people, but our side like it, so it gets shared and liked. And start thinking about, if I didn't believe in independence, would this engage me? Would I even read it past the first bit? We need to enter a different mode, and we all need to think about that.
Yeah, because if we're going to be an independent country, everybody has to come along with it, don't they? Whether they like it or not. Yeah. We've got to make it so it's comfortable for each and every different faction to be a part of an independent Scotland.
Absolutely, and I think a really important thing in the Yes movement is to recognise different parts of Scotland have a different political history and heritage, and people vote for parties for different reasons. So we're very good at our marches about chanting about, I didn't hear it today by the way, but chanting about the Tories. We shouldn't do that. We should talk about the kind of Scotland we want, about being independent. When I lost my seat, the Tories got 50% of the vote. That's not because 50% support the Tories. They were polarised and they voted on the second independence referendum on independence. Those people are not traditional Tories. For 50 years this was a Liberal seat. There is a big anti-Tory majority, but it's just independence shaped it. So we need to find messages that relate to those people's concerns. Why would they not support Indy? What drove them to support the Tories? What do they like about what we're doing? How does Brexit influence it? Because actually, I know a lot of people that have voted Tory who will support independence, and we need to think about that, and we need to differentiate our messaging in places like here. I mean, in the past, the reality is I've had leaflets from the SNP and the Yes movement that we didn't put out in the borders because they didn't fit. They might work in a housing scheme in Glasgow or Dundee or wherever, but they didn't work in the borders. And so as an independence campaign, how do we get a bit smarter? And by the way, there's lots of good work going on. I mean, this tent next to you here, let's talk about the border.
Yeah.
Right, so not so much in Galashiels, but if you go to Eyemouth, people will shop in Morrison's across the border. So the currency question, the border question, all are far bigger issues than they would be elsewhere in the country. So rather than wait and get hit with challenging questions, let's get ahead of it. And that's what these guys are doing. They're saying, okay, well, how does it work elsewhere? We shouldn't be afraid of this. This can be a really positive thing. You can get special funding. People will come and go across the border. Crikey, you know, we might be able to buy certain things cheaper over the border, both ways. So,
yeah. Well, this happens, for example, between Constance and Kreuzlingen in Germany and Switzerland. It's quite free and easy.
Yeah, we shouldn't be afraid of it. I think traditionally we have been quite afraid to talk about it. You know, I think probably 2014 laid the groundwork and took us forward by a big leap, a bigger leap than many of us probably thought at the start. And although we were scunnered, we lost it, we still need to recognise how far we came. And now we need to think a bit deeper about some of the issues. Some of it I don't think we need to detail, but some of these issues in certain parts of the country will be disproportionately important. And where we can, we should take them on.
And what do you think about, it was a bit of a joke, wasn't it, Mr. Savage Javid saying, and did you see Mari Black's little tweets? Sound if I go to bed now.
Yeah, I think this is one of the other big factors at play for the second independence referendum. You know, the Tories in Westminster are so internally focused now. And we were never that important, but we were important enough they could direct some of their effort and resources against us. That's not really the case anymore. And every time Sajid David or whoever comes out with something, and you've got both camps, you've got the Sajid David, I shall not allow you an independence referendum, and then you got guys like Rory Stewart, who back in 2014 built a cairn. And by the way, he built a cairn because he wanted to do hands all along the border. He couldn't get enough people, so instead he built a cairn. He's doing the softly approach. But all of these guys are not playing to a Scottish audience. They're playing to a domestic audience. And that will help us. I think it will help reinforce how unimportant we are, the patronising attitude that we experience all the time. But I think we need to be a little bit careful not to overplay it. They'll do that themselves, and their humour, that hashtag. The fact that he then had to respond on it, his own team, they were like, it's trending, and they tried to embrace it, but at that point, people are just going nuts.
So, Callum, it's great to talk to you. I hope we meet again soon because you're so informative and very fascinating to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed.
I enjoy talking to you too, anytime.
That's my man.
Good afternoon.
Now,
How are you?
I'm doing great.
I've got to catch my bus at 4 o'clock.
Got to catch your bus at 4. So tell everybody, let's move back a little bit. That's it. That's great. Now, you better tell the audience on the other end of the television camera who you are.
My name's Alfie Dixon. I come from Arbroath and we came down here to the march We've been on all the marches, me and my daughter, and we're here to support independence for Scotland.
And how soon can that come?
For me, not soon enough. I've had really our years and years of trying to convince people it's the best thing from Scotland. I think Brexit's going to do a better job for it than I did.
What some of the people that you've spoken to over the years, have you got any ones that stand out with their objections or what you've had to say back to them? Any little story comes to your head?
I've got quite a few friends and relatives, and I can't really get a conversation going with them because I start off by saying to them, give us 3 good reasons why we should stay in the Union. And that's the end of the conversation, because I haven't found anyone yet giving me 3 good reasons to stay in the Union. So it's hard to convince people who...
Maybe you have to drop your standard. Let's try one.
Sounds a good idea. I might go for that. Just to get it.
Your daughter, I spoke to her earlier on when you were milling around at the beginning. She seems to be very well informed.
My daughter Ruth, yes, she's very informed. I've got 2 daughters. One isn't as excited about independence as Ruth is. Ruth's very informed because she studies into it. She looks for facts. She doesn't listen to people. She's got her own mind. And whenever she has a conversation with anyone about independence, it's always handy to have facts. Because
there's a lot of very interesting people. When you start to listen to the SNP guys, they all know what they've got their fingertips on these facts, haven't they?
Exactly, yes. Especially when you're having a discussion with a unionist, you have to have facts because they don't have facts to go back on. So they make stories up, and when you make a story up, and then you're speaking to the same person later on, and you ask them the same questions you asked them earlier, they can't remember because they've told lies, and it just happens to be that way.
In fact, that candidate for the Tory party leadership, Rory Stewart, Callum just mentioned him a few moments ago before you came to talk to me. He actually, I heard him say it. He said, well, 80% of people, and the person who was doing my kind of job said, where did you get that figure from? He said, well, I just made it up.
That's exactly. I saw that interview. I spoke to a lady from the Orkneys, and I said, a known liar like Carmichael, when you vote for him. And she says, well, I don't actually vote for him. I vote for his policies. So I says to her, if you vote for our policies, that means anybody in the Orkneys can stand rapists, liars, thieves, if you don't have anybody, you know. So our argument doesn't stand up saying, I'm not voting for the man, I'm voting for his policies.
Did she know the policies? That was the other question, isn't it?
And we're talking about Orkneys here, and we're talking about Liberal Democrats.
Because they did quite well in the European elections in the south of England, didn't they?
They certainly did. In the South of England, they got all the Remain votes, apart from the Brexit. But you can't take it away from the Brexits. They actually overwhelmingly win that election, no matter how much the Tories want to spin it. They lost. Them and Labour lost, and the Lib Dems made a great showing of it. So here's hoping it stays that way. And
of course, the Liberal Democrats, at least they've got a plan for the future. But the Brexit people don't seem to have any plans at all.
Exactly. Brexit plan is, let's get out of Europe. That's their argument. And the majority of people down south agree with them. That's why they win all these seats.
But, you know, when you ask them, and I've asked a couple of people in the time I've been here today, well, then what? But they don't actually, they just, oh, well, it'll just be all right. But actually, it's not as simple as that.
Of course it's not. Whenever they pulled the trigger to come out of Europe 3.5 years ago now, the Tories didn't have a plan, and they still don't have a plan, and that's the mess they're in just now. Now, people are just copying Brexit. They're doing exactly the same. They're saying, let's get out, and nobody's saying, but what am I going to do when we get out? No, they don't want to be asked that question.
You see, they don't seem to quite understand that you have to have a trade deal in place before you can trade. And it's all very well saying it'll sort itself out, but those trade deals can take 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years.
Yes, exactly. And the Minister for Trade down at Westminster, when you ask him, how many deals do you have? I think he's got one
He's got 10 now.
Oh, he's got 10 now, okay.
But then let's look at them. I've mentioned this many times on Broadcasting Scotland. It's the Faroe Islands and the Palestinian Authority, South Africa, and that's probably the biggest of the whole lot. But things like New Zealand, the World Trade Organization, of course, New Zealand and everything are in it. Now, the New Zealand people and the Brazilians and the Americans have already made objections to the schedule of responsibilities for the schedule of goods and for the World Trade Organization submitted by the UK government against beef, and that's a tangle and a knot which will take a long time to undo.
Exactly. They think when they say South Africa, I've just come back from South Africa a year ago. I was on holiday. They think when they say South Africa that it's going to be a great trade. China's been in South Africa for years. You go to South Africa now, all the major contracts are Chinese. They've actually taken it by a storm. And for Britain to try and break into that market, they're going to have a hard do, really, really hard, to try and break what the Chinese have actually established at the moment. So this fallacy about, oh, we'll go to South Africa, a new country, plenty of... It's not as simple as that.
I think that's a very good place to draw our discussions to a halt. Thank you very much for your time. You're very kind to speak to me.
Good afternoon. The rain stayed off.
See you later. So come on, tell us who you are.
We're from the Forfar Yes Hub, which is open 4 days a week. No, 5 days a week.
A Yes Hub?
Yes.
So what do you do in your hub?
Well, it's called the Bletherin Hub, and it's open to anybody, any political persuasion who support independence to come in, have a cup of tea and have a blether.
And a braddy?
And a bridie, yeah. It's
bridie,
called
yeah.
the Bletherin, and we're coming up for our 2nd year of opening up. It's all run by volunteers. We self-fund it, and along with events and things that we've run.
So how do you make the money to do that?
We buy and sell goods to anyone that comes in.
Yeah, and there's a hardcore of members who have a direct debit every month to sort of support the group.
Great. So how many kind of members do you have, do you think?
Not members as such, just people who...
Just people just drop in?
Just drop in, yes. Well, the S4 for itself has quite a lot of interest. We have our Facebook pages, the S4 for Facebook and Bletherin for Facebook. There's also a Bletherin in Brechin, a Bletherin in Montrose, and they've just opened one in Blairgowrie as well.
So it's spreading around.
Yes, hopefully.
Franchise.
Well, I hope have you had a lovely day at the Galashiels?
It's been beautiful today. Just so friendly and welcoming, Galashiels. Definitely will come back on holiday at some point to explore the area.
I think you better get a hub going on down here too.
That's up to the people from Galashiels, but we're there to help.
Yes, I hope they manage to do that, because it's certainly a big help. A big commitment, but a big help.
So thank you very much for speaking to me. You're very kind. I love you all. I love your hair too.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you later. I got 2 indie girls. Hello, how are you? I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm fine, yeah, on this glorious day.
Did you have a good march?
Yes, we did,
And lovely weather?
Fantastic weather given what it was like yesterday and what it's to be like tomorrow.
So we came in that, well, of course, it's just, the sun has got to shine on such an event, hasn't it?
God shines in the righteous.
And how do you think, are you from Galashiels?
No, we're not, we're from North Lanarkshire.
All right.
So we came down
What
in
do
a
you-
convoy.
All right. Oh, the convoy, yes. Now, how's that? Did you have all your flags on the cars and all?
We certainly did. Bonnet, socks in the bonnet.
All right, yeah, bonnet socks. Is that what they call that?
Yeah.
Because there was there's a van parked just behind me, and it came up in my mirror behind me as I was driving in, and I thought, I wonder what you call that. So it's a bonnet sock.
It's a bonnet sock.
Right,
Don't
no.
make the mistake, I've been calling it a body sock all week.
So tell me, what do you think of the fallout from the EU elections last week and all the things that have been going on? I'm sure you've got a view on it.
What a fantastic, it was just fantastic for Scotland, and it showed that it cut Scotland and England right off each other, and that's what we need politically. they're doing it politically. We now need it severed.
Yeah, do it official. It was really apparent. It was like a mellow yellow Monday that we woke up to.
Have you noticed any? I'm sure you've spoken to people who prefer to keep into the union. Have you noticed any softening of any of those people?
Definitely. I know quite a few. This was a no, a hard no, and they're now yeses without a shadow of doubt.
And the same. I've had people contacting me saying, Jackie, see since that EU election, I need to know more information. I voted no in 2014, but now what I'm seeing, we need independence, but I need more information, and that's what they've been doing.
And it's nothing to do with football.
Well, tell me what, yes, the football's going on, isn't it? Yeah, independent. Oh, right, I'm not going to read that. I'll go red. But the women's football team are doing well too, aren't they?
Of course we are, we're better. Come on.
Do you play?
No, I'm too old now.
No, you're not old. Come on. So, thank you very much for speaking to me. It's lovely of you to do that. Thanks for taking the time. Hello there. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
And tell everybody who you are.
My name's Gail Hendry and I'm Chair of Yes Scottish Borders.
Chair of the Scottish Borders?
Chair of the umbrella organisation Yes Scottish Borders.
All right. And so what does that entail?
Well, we have 11 groups representing local towns and villages, and we have English Scots for Yes and a local group of pensioners for Yes. So Yes Scottish Borders is like the umbrella organisation where we get together to support each other, help each other out and give each other ideas.
And how do you think the momentum's going?
Well, I think we've got a great momentum in the Scottish Borders. It's not the easiest of areas to campaign in, it can be quite challenging. But we have support that's growing all the time as we take out the message of the opportunities of living in a border to people.
And what do you have any contact with people that the southern side of the border?
No, not really. We've built up links with our colleagues in Dumfries and Galloway. So we're looking at calling ourselves, got a group called Scotland's Gateways, because we will be on an international border after independence, which is a really exciting thing for us.
How long have you been doing all this?
Campaigning. I've been campaigning for Scottish independence for probably 4.5 decades.
You're never that old.
Thank you. I was actually taken out leafleting when I was at primary school.
Right. And go on, give us there must have been a few stories in all that time that you know you can smile at.
Absolutely.
Go on, can you think of one?
I think the first big exciting thing was campaigning in Balfin-Buchan in 1987 when we got Alex Salmond elected there. And then did a lot of campaigning in the northeast, and then I moved to the borders 20 years ago, and since then had the children, so I was quieter for a while. Then I was election agent for Callum Kerr when he won in 2015.
Yeah, we spoke to Callum a little bit ago.
Yeah, I keep him in line, that's my job. And I've been election agent for Paul Wheelhouse, Scottish Government Minister, so it's quite a lot of work keeping the boys in line.
Do you have any desire for public office yourself?
I did stand in the by-election for Holyrood in 2017, just because we had to very quickly find a candidate who was vetted, and I really enjoyed the campaign. But I love my day-to-day job. I work with children, I'm a teacher, and I love that, so I'd really miss that.
So thank you very much for talking to me. You're very kind, and we'll hopefully talk again another day. Thank you.
Graham Jones, I'm all under one banner organiser for Scottish Borders region. I'd just like to thank everybody for coming here today. It's been absolutely electric, far bigger than I could ever exceeded.
Because it's a wee town, isn't it?
It is. It's only a town of maybe 30,000 people. And this is big. This is big for Galashiels.
Has anything like it gone on here before?
Nothing. This is the first time in history. Some event this big in magnitude.
And you must have had a bit of a liaison with the police. I can see someone on the bicycles behind you.
Yeah.
Have you had any comment from them?
No, I've not had any comment from the police yet, no. Not spoke to them yet.
But I think it's been a peaceful and a very friendly event.
It's been very peaceful, as always. It's an inclusive movement, it's a family-run event, and it's for everybody, all families can. Really.
And so, what's the next one you're organising?
Well, we're on to Oban in 2 weeks, and then from there we're on to Ayr in Perth, and then Glasgow, and then I think it's Edinburgh's the last one.
Campbelltown?
Campbelltown, yes.
Yeah, it's hard to remember them, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that was through that old generation game with the things going past, isn't it? So many things to remember.
Yeah, it is.
How did you get involved with All Under One Banner?
Well, it all began in Dumfries last year. We were all in a chat, and I was like, why don't we have something in Galashiels in the Scottish borders? We've never had anything like this before. So I was given the opportunity to take this, go this journey with All Under One Banner in the Scottish borders, and here we are.
And it's quite a responsibility, isn't it? Because we've got all these people to look after, and of course you don't want anything to mar the event that takes takes people's minds away from the real thing.
Yeah, it's
a bit scary when you start to think about it. You've done it, but it was a bit scary.
Yeah, it was really scary.
And what about the money? Because it does cost a lot of money to arrange all these things, doesn't it?
Well, these kind of events, well, it's we're talking about £7,500 an event. The time we put the stage all in, get all the equipment and stuff like that, it can be quite expensive. But thank you to All Under One Banner and the Yes Movement and the crowdfunder. That's what helps make the events happen.
Yeah. And of course, in some of the bigger ones, like in Glasgow, it's a bigger stage, and there's so many more people, so many more toilets, and all the rest of that.
Yeah, Glasgow has to have the proper equipment. It has to be accommodated for as many people that go to Glasgow.
And there was a bit of bother with the Glasgow march. We mustn't go into it because it's a problem, isn't it? Still, you've got to organise and sort out. So we won't discuss that. But the council here in Galashiels, how's that been? Has it been easy with them?
The council and Scottish borders have been absolutely fantastic. They could probably be one of the best councils to work with. I take my hat off to the council. I really appreciate what they've letting us have this event here. Yeah.
So what do you think next year, or will we move to somewhere else? Because I think Sean Mellon said to me you were going to move it around different towns.
Yeah, we're going to try, I think, Stonehaven next year, back in Dumfries and Galloway, and then just see how it goes there, and we'll maybe have something back in the central borders the year after, maybe.
Have they still got the open air swimming pool at Stonehaven?
I'm not quite sure.
As if we're there, we better go in it was really a nice warm day. We can all get cold up after.
We can all go in for a dip, and it'll just be a big party in the.
Why'd you go in the sea there?
yeah, well that's it. It's fantastic scenery up there. It's lovely seafront and stuff.
So thanks very much for talking to me, and thanks for letting Broadcasting Scotland come to your event, and hope we publicise it in a good fashion. And if you've got any money to give to All Under One Banner, do that. Right.
I'd like to thank Broadcasting Scotland for coming along today. It means a lot to myself to get the event aired. Us.
Well, it's kind of a two-way street, because Carol gets involved with us a lot.
Yeah.
And we had Fiona on the station the other day, which was a great thrill because they were both magnificent.
Yeah.
So if we can help you and you help us, it's just a wonderful thing to do.
If we can help each other and come together, make our events far more easier and better.
And that's kind of what we want to do with Independence, isn't it, really?
Yes, yeah, well, independence, it's been my life's ambition to be independent. I couldn't tell you how much I almost, yes, I'm just...
What are you going to feel like when you've got that Scottish passport and you go on holiday somewhere and you give it over to the man who's got to look at your passport? Go on, tell me what you're going to feel.
Proud.
I'm here. Right behind you. Right behind you.
Did you hear him whistling? And that's it.
You waiting in the seats? Catch up, you back. Jackie! Jackie!
Hello, Mrs.
No, we have some good news and we've got some bad news. First, the good news. The good news is that, you know, one of the reasons we went with we were discussing the fact that everything the company has such a fantastic reception, really so fantastic. We thought it would be a nice idea to tonight to go more
You said you wanted to have I know.
You're sick, like brother.
What did you say there?
You've got to be alive.
What's the right in there?
I'll get back in the zone.
DJ! No, I left voluntarily after Peg made the plans. My right. I was right. Nothing get us behind.
Festival coming up.
Next weekend.
If you're horny for Hindi! You know, some jokes become reality.